Adopted children, what's the most gut-wrenching thing you discovered when you looked into your past? My parents used to make fun of me for being adopted. You see, I was 6 when I entered into their family, so by the time I turned 10, I had a lot of questions about where I came from. But instead of lying or even sugarcoating the truth, they told me I was adopted. They then followed up about how I was their miracle child, because they never thought the universe would give them the chance to raise such an amazing son like me. That's when the jokes started coming up. They'd laugh about how I had my birth mom's snoring gene, or her terrible sense of direction. So that's how any feeling that I was unwanted completely washed away. They were honestly the best parents I could have asked for, biological or otherwise. But by the time I turned 16, I developed this deep desire to know my roots, and of course, to meet my mother. Over the span of a few months, it turned into a yearning feeling. It was the first time I had ever understood the phrase, a piece of me was missing. And I guess my parents noticed, because it was around this time that the jokes stopped. Sometimes I'd even try to spark them up again, only for them to quickly change topics or look really uncomfortable. Well, I loved my parents, and the last thing I wanted was for them to think they weren't good enough. So I basically gaslit myself into being grateful for what I had. This plan worked until I turned 18, because that's when my parents sat me down at the kitchen table with an already opened envelope in their hand. I figured it was a college acceptance letter. This came for you when you were born, my dad said. My mom chimed in. Your birth mom left it at the adoption agency. We weren't allowed to give it to you until you turned 18. A cold dread seeped into my chest. The handwriting was barely legible, faded from the decade it had spent folded up. In it, I could make out a line that said, I did what I had to do, as well as an address to somewhere about 40 miles away. My parents both stared at me, waiting for my reaction. Thanks, was the only word I managed to make out, before trudging up the stairs and crying into my pillow. Suddenly, I was recalling memories I didn't even know I had. The way my mom's hand let go of mine at the center, the recurring feeling of a deep heaviness that haunted every night I slept without a family. And now I had the chance to see her again. I couldn't figure out if it was a blessing or a curse. I ended up crying myself to sleep that night, but when I woke up, I didn't achieve the clarity I'd hoped for. Instead, my mind was fogged up with a deep sense of unease. I stared at the letter once again. F it, I thought. And that's how I spent the morning driving to see my mother for the first time in 12 years. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe a cartoonish feeling of instant connection, or a deep sense of satisfaction. Instead, it was like looking at a stranger. I knew it was her because she had the same light green eyes as me, the same obscenely odd-shaped earlobes. I sat down, and she served me some stale coffee. You're my mother, I wanted to blurt out, but instead I just asked to get some pancakes. She nodded and walked away, like I was just another customer. While I waited, I bit my nails down to the nail beds. I figured that maybe it was like exposure therapy, and I didn't have to talk straight away. So the next day, I came back with every intention of speaking to her, but I didn't, because she ended up speaking to me. Surprisingly, our conversation flowed so naturally that she even took a work break to yap together. In just 30 minutes, we hopped from the topic of politics, to our favorite color, to our friend's drama, to school. It was like I had known her all along. I was just about to break the news to her when she asked me the question. Hey, this is weird, but I just have this feeling like we're really similar. Me too. And I have the answer. I was so excited to tell my mom that she was, well, my mom. But then she spoke again. Usually I only feel this way with parents who have given their kids up for adoption, have you? It was so far from what I had expected her to say that I just froze, and in a moment of panic, I nodded. I knew it, she exclaimed, like she had just won a game show. I smiled awkwardly, and she kept going. You know, people act like it's this big heartbreaking thing, but honestly, I felt more relief than guilt. She took my silence as an invitation to continue. I know this sounds bad, but I never saw it as a person. It was just this screaming consequence. She then laughed so hard that she slapped her knee until it turned red. I felt bile rise up in my throat. So, did you leave a letter for your child? I asked, wanting to find out more. Yeah, but only because I knew he'd never actually come. By this point, I regretted ever wanting a family outside of mine. I put the letter on the table, watched her face drain of color and walked out. I never even told my parents about it, but the next day, she called them in tears. But she wasn't for me. She was looking for money. The rest of the full story is on my channel and linked below.